Hey guys, this is the first video lecture. This is on Transcendentalism. Transcendentalism is an American literary, political, and philosophical movement of the early 19th century. We say literary because they were writers. Political in that they had a lot of ideas about government, the American government, and the problems with it. And philosophical in that they had a lot of philosophies on life and how it should be led and how you can be truly happy. The movement occurred roughly between 1835-36 to 1860-65. You'll hear different dates. Based out of Massachusetts, Concord, Massachusetts, not too far from where we're at. Transcendentalism was an offshoot of Unitarianism, which by the 1820s became the dominant religion of eastern Massachusetts. Unitarianism still exists today. The Unitarians emphasized the individual's freedom of choice and a capacity for good, the human potential to achieve likeness to God. So they weren't real specific as far as what God you had to worship. They just believed in having a spiritual or higher power that you worship. The two most important figures in the movement were Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. Two names you're going to have to commit to memory. Both of them were Harvard graduates. Emerson, he was the philosopher and the teacher, and you'll see two pictures here, one of him at a younger age and much older, as you see. And Thoreau was the student, his student and practitioner, meaning he took Emerson's philosophies and put them into practice, and we'll be discussing in detail what he did. They were critics of their contemporary society for its unthinking conformity. They believed that by living in society with, amongst other people, you couldn't help but conform or be like others and lose your individuality. They were against the Industrial Revolution and man's focus on material goods. They believed that owning things wasn't a prerequisite to happiness. In the 1850s, many of the Transcendentalist writers became very outspoken critics of slavery, as well as New England's Orthodox religion. Again, that Unitarian idea of being able to worship who or what you want. The Transcendentalists believed in living close to nature, and that the human spirit is reflected in nature, and all things are spiritually united. They urged each individual to find, in Emerson's words, an original relation to the universe, and they sought this relationship by spending time alone in nature. They believed that through this you could transcend to a higher spiritual level. Being alone in nature, you sort of were more introspective and connected with the world around you, without all the influences of society. They placed great emphasis on the importance of spiritual living, that every person's relation to God was a personal matter to be established directly by the individual rather than through the ritualistic church, much like Unitarianism. When we think church, we think of a lot of rules and regulations, what's right, what's wrong. But the Unitarian church is much more liberal thinking, and they don't really put a lot of regulations or rules, I guess you'd say, on or who or what you worship. They believe that all forms of being, God, nature, and humanity, are spiritually united through a shared universal soul, or an oversoul, as Emerson called it. Much like the Force, I relate it to the Force in Star Wars, if you're familiar with those movies. So the main ideas of Transcendentalism, which we will get into great detail over the next few weeks. Number one, an examination of self. They want you to look at who you are, what are you about? Truly become introspective and understand yourself. Self-reliance or total independence, being strong mentally, physically, being able to do for yourself. Spiritual individuality versus organized religion, as we talked a little bit about. Individualism, respect for individual self and uniqueness. They believe that, like I said before, conforming to what society wants you to be was wrong, and that you should be who you truly are. They believed in a reevaluation of necessities and luxuries, meaning that you need to really decide, what is it that I need in life? What are the necessities of life? Material things I'm speaking of. And lastly, an appreciation of nature. They believe that by connecting with the natural world and removing yourself from the influence of society, that you would gain an understanding of yourself, become more self-reliant, and really get to know who you are. Now, we'll be spending a lot of time discussing these ideas, making sense of it all over the next few weeks, like I said. So if anything is confusing here, don't worry about it. We'll be clarifying in class. So I'll be seeing you guys soon.